Patty.
Hi.
Before we even get started today, we're going to talk about social distancing. Just so that
Because of the thing.
That we don't talk about, because we don't talk about things on this show. We talk about knitting on this podcast.
Yes.
And we are isolated on our 88-acre farm, and we live together. I don't know if everybody quite realizes that, but Kim and I actually share a house.
Yeah.
And so we don't have to be 2 meters apart, according to the Prince Edward Island government. We just received a briefing about an hour ago.
Right.
However, today we have to be 1 meter apart because I have the microphone on a table that's holding us apart. Yeah. And we got a microphone, but unfortunately it didn't come with a very long cord. Right. So we're kind of got our legs swung over to the side so that the microphone thingamabob can be in here, and we're not even sure how well that's going to work. So we're all good here. And if you think we're wrong about social distancing, but you do not work for the government of Prince Edward Island, then don't feel the need to comment, because we're following the instructions that we've been given by our own province here in Canada.
We watch her every day.
Yes, we watch her every day. So we're good. So thank you for your concern in advance.
Right. And I would say that you and I are not leaving the farm, but we do have to send Ken out for food every now and then. So that is part of the whole initiative that's taking place in the province, is that you kind of pick one person to do the errands.
Right.
And nobody has any symptoms or anything. No. So we're all good. But Ken's the one that gets to go out and forage for food.
Yeah, so our population density is about 27 acres per person.
I don't
know.
So
I think we're good. Yeah. All right. Carrying on. So all that out of the way, I'm Jennifer, and this is Kim, and we're sisters, and we're here on our farm in Prince Edward Island, and we run the mill and yarn shop called Fleece and Harmony.
Yes. And we're shooting in the mill, which is also on our property. So we haven't traveled anywhere to go to work.
And all of our employees were sent home ages ago.
Yeah.
And there'll be no knit night chats either. Because obviously there's no knit night, which is pretty devastating, because I keep coming up with good knit night stories, and then there's no knit night.
Yeah.
But I have to save them all up. I'm going to start making a list for when we're able to reconvene. All right. So welcome.
Yes. And if you haven't seen us before, hang on to your things usually go completely out of control. And if you're back again, then we're gonna try to keep up the standard.
The cheerful standard. Okay.
So the first thing that we're going to do is we'll do a quick farm update. There's been lots of questions, because this would normally be when we would start lambing. So we're going to talk about that just for a second or two. We won't spend too much time on that. We do have some works in progress, and we're going to do a shop update. And the most important question that came out of the last podcast, or not the last one, the one before, I guess, is about Ken's haircut.
Yes.
So we'll do an update.
Right.
So Jennifer snapped a picture today.
The evidence has been recorded.
Yes. And you can see it right here.
Yeah. It's pretty miraculous. Was that only a week ago?
No, was it 2 weeks ago? I think was it last episode? The 34B, which somebody kindly told us, it sounds like we're talking about a bra. Okay. That was our episode.
And there will be a 35B, I think. We're going to keep doing the Bs until everything reopens, because we have time to do it.
Yeah.
So we'll be back in a week.
Yes.
You won't be able to get enough of us.
So that's Ken's hair. He thanks you for your concerns.
Yeah.
And speaking of hair, there's quite a couple of campaigns going on around, because it's Show Us Your Roots. And since our niece is a hairdresser, we're going to support her. So, it's the Show Us Your Roots.
The struggle is real.
Yeah. And basically the hairdressers are saying, wait for us.
Right.
So
I think they prefer to be called stylists.
Okay. Stylists. I'm old. Wait for us. So that's what we're going to do. But there's a funny thing about this, because obviously all the hair salons are closed. It's not considered an essential service. However, one of the members of our legislature wrote a tweet this morning confessing
a man.
Yes. Yeah. I was just about to say, confessing that he felt like he had to come clean. that he dyes his hair because he said pretty soon you're going to see just how gray I am. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
He's obviously got a good sense of humor about the whole thing. So that's great.
It's obviously going to be quite evident. He didn't feel he could hide it for
Yes,
any
I'm
length of
sure
time.
it's getting grayer by the minute
Yeah.
as we speak. So that actually reminds me of a story.
Okay.
Also about Newfoundland.
Oh.
Yes. So my mother had quite dark hair with very little gray in it till she was quite, like, I don't know, until she got to be quite old. And even now it's not fully gray.
Well, I'm 45 and I have like 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a few more. And so even now it's kind of like a salt and pepper. So she's in her 70s and it's a salt and pepper. So it's not fully gray. But she was traveling with my father, who used to be a sales rep in Atlantic Canada, and they were traveling, and they went to dinner with one of his clients, and the client's wife was fascinated by the fact that my mother her hair is not black, but it was a very dark brunette, and she was clearly not 20 when she was there, and the woman kept asking her about her hair, and so then finally she says, "You dyes your hair, don't you?" I said, "No, I don't." So that was it.
She just finally got around and asked her flat out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, she didn't dye her hair, but anyway. It was
but
funny.
Our grandfather did.
Yes.
Our mother's
another
father.
secret.
Secret.
And we certainly do.
Only in his mind.
Yeah, and we certainly do.
Yeah.
And then my mother did dye her hair after, but then she just decided she has a quite nice hair. Like the color is quite nice.
Yeah.
And my father is totally silver.
Has been for a while.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So that's it.
So that's the hair update.
Yeah, and I think Ken's patch is actually growing in a little more light than the rest.
Oh, that'll be different. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, because there's no little brown
now.
in
on hard to say.
Well, he cuts it fairly regularly, so it probably won't be too different for too long.
Okay, good.
All right, so the farm update. So people are asking us, because we kind of casually mentioned the last episode that we are not lambing this year. So that's true. We are not having lambs on the farm this year. And the reason why is because we're exhausted.
Yeah.
So lambs are cute, and the miracle of life is wonderful. And
122 times over a 6-week period.
Yes.
It's a miracle every time.
However, it goes over 6 weeks, and we do barn checks. So when we're lambing, we have cameras in the barn so we can see and we can hear what's going on. But it's really prudent to go out to the barn regularly. So we set our alarms, and we take turns to go. And we set our alarms for 2 to 3 hours, every 2 to 3 hours during the night. The truth is that for Ken and I, he takes his shift, and then I take my shift another night, and then Jen would take her shift. But when you're 2, the alarm wakes you up anyway. So even if you don't go out, and we're going out every 2 to 3 hours, and you go out, and sometimes you're still there at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you're there at 12 or 12:30 at night, and you're there till 8 o'clock in the morning. And then we have a business to run, and all of our regular work to do, and so forth. So we just felt like this year we just were going to take a rest.
Yeah. We don't need to do it. It's not, we'd much rather be able to have the energy to do this.
Yes. So we just press pause. And then
or stop.
Yeah, or stop. We're not 100% sure. Well, we'll always have sheep, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But no lambs this year. So you heard right. People were saying, "Did we hear right?" That's the reason why.
Yeah. No, we've done 1,000 of them over the last few years. So.
Self-care.
Yeah,
a little bit of self-care.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So,
and did you tell everybody to like our video and subscribe? Oh, okay.
No. So if you like our video, give us a thumbs up, and we'd ask you to subscribe if you are enjoying it, and turn on the notifications, because now we're getting a little sneaky. We're slipping in extra videos.
Yeah, so you don't want to miss.
That's right. You don't want to miss. And so that's it helps us too when you subscribe. So on to the proper agenda, finished objects, and I wrote here kind of as a joke, Joe Bat's arm.
No, I've been glaring
it's not
at
Joe
it.
Bat's arm.
No, but we've been asked multiple times to show pictures of the real Joe Bat's arm, which is a place in Newfoundland.
Right.
Or on Newfoundland.
Right.
And we are going to do that right now.
Right.
Beautiful. Let's go see Joe Bat's arm for a minute. Not the sweater.
Right.
The place.
You're not going to see the sweater.
No.
No.
Lord, no. Okay, so here we go. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Check.
That's done. We
So you
remembered.
can see the inspiration. It takes us a while, but it's all in there.
Yeah.
It just takes a while for it to come back to the front.
Yeah, that's right. So, works in progress. So I'm the only one with works in progress that I'm showing because there's a change in them. I've knitted on them.
Oh, well, so on my whip angle, it turns out knitting is not something I can do when I'm stressed to the gills, which of course we are. Because we're not going to talk about the thing, but economically it's very difficult for small business owners. There's no point trying to gloss over that. And I just can't knit right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to force myself to.
And me, on the other hand,
it works for you, obviously, but
I've knit more in the last.
Like I kind of have this odd anxiety related restlessness. And I really can't do anything for more than 2 minutes at a time. And that's just not going to work on a Jennifer Beal pattern, I'm afraid.
No.
So I'm assuming at some point I will develop the desire to pick it up again. But there has been no knitting for me since we sat down here last time.
Right.
Yeah.
So and I've done more than I usually do. Yeah. It's the opposite.
It's just whatever, works to keep your mood good. You need to go with that right now.
Whatever it takes. Yeah. And I'm very thankful that I have the projects that I'm working on to work on, because that's why I'm able to do it, because it gets to be very rhythmic and relaxing. So So the first one, there was a big debate about the Roman in the Gloman hat, which is actually designed. Jennifer had put a title at the bottom of it when we talked about it, because it comes out of the Kate Davies book, Milwaukee HAZE, and but it's not designed by Kate Davies. It's designed by Lynette Meek. So I just wanted to make a point of saying that. So as you recall, the great debate over the Crest of the Waves pattern versus the my pattern that I made up because I made a mistake in the pattern. Would I rip it out? Would I keep going? Whatever. So I decided actually to rip out the whole thing, because the brim of the hat was really big. It was going to be very big, and I was worried that once it was blocked, it was going to be too big. So I'm not using the yarn that's suggested for it. I'm using the Selkirk worsted. It's actually the oyster that's left over from my Joe Bat's arm sweater.
Joe Bat's arm again.
I'm gonna have to go there. So I'm using what's left over, and I actually took out 2 repeats, and because I had already taken out one because I knew I didn't have the right gauge for the hat, and after knitting it as far up as I was knitting it, I could see that it was really too big. So what I did was I squeezed. The repeat is 24 stitches around the top of the hat. So I had to take out 24 stitches. So I pinned my hat that I made with the right number of stitches, and I made it smaller, and then I went to see if it would still fit in my head, and I still had plenty of room. So this looks terrifyingly small. But Jennifer says, don't worry, because she knits lots of hats. Yeah. And it's kind of squished on. I'm using my Chiagu shorties, minis. Shorties. In the small size.
Small shorties.
Yeah, the small shorties. So, and you can see there's like lots of flexibility there. Go. So I started completely all over again. And this brim, I just can't say enough about it. I love it because it's got that little lace ribbing, and the pattern is easy to memorize, and it's just very rhythmic to watch. So there you go. Started from scratch. I was ripping out, and then I was like, oh, I'm just going to really fix it, because I was really worried it was going to be too big.
Yeah, it would have been huge.
Falling over my head and not looking very good. So that's that. So
I'm
then,
going to put these things over here.
Okay.
I'm going to knock the microphone.
Okay. And so my other project is the Jennifer Steingas Hinterland sweater. So I made quite a lot of progress, but it was not all smooth sailing with this either. I did a swatch, and for the first time ever, I have to admit, I did a swatch in the round like you're supposed to, and knew what what size I was going to get, and I made some adjustments on the pattern. I'll just talk a little bit about that later because we're doing swatching in the tutorial, so there'll be more explanation. Made some adjustments, and I probably should have tried to do the color work swatching in the round as well, but usually my attention on color work is pretty good, but I'm not as I haven't done many top-down sweaters with we've talked a lot about our shoulders being bigger, and I guess we've decided our traps are bigger as well. So I had to go to the expert for some help on that because I started to get a little panicky about.
But I think we talked about this last week.
Not the adding the, did we?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we.
So it's done now.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was just a little too snug for me to be comfortable to keep knitting on over the shoulders. And so then I went to Jennifer. Jennifer made a suggestion about adding extra stitches right when you split right before you split the arms. So I was easily able to do that because the pattern allows you space to do that close to the bottom. So we did that. We split for the arms, and now I've knit down it, and now it works because it is true that when you have a top-down sweater, you can try it on. So I've been extending the cord and trying it on every step of the way just to make sure that it's going to be good. And I actually put in 24 stitches, and some of them went into the arm and some of them went in the body, but I took out 24 all in the body because when it gets down to here, even though I'm not petite by any means, but it was going to be pretty loose. So I'm back to where I started, and the pattern doesn't have any waist shaping, but I also did some waist shaping. So now I'm at the point where I'm taking the waist shaping out, going down to the hips. So it's going to go pretty fast. Mm-hmm. So I'm almost there. I'm really pleased with it. It's really nice.
That pine forest looks almost like velvet.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has a really nice
color.
Really nice look, and I'm really excited to do it. And then the sleeves will go fast because it's all stockinette until you get to the bottom, and then you've got more of the trim. So, So pine forest and thistle and Selkirk worsted. Yeah. It's really fun. I was not really looking forward, I have to say, to the whole body of the sweater with just straight stockinette, but as it turns out, that was
it's about what we can handle.
That's
at this
about
point.
just right.
Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason, I guess. Right? So that's Hinterland. So we're coming close to the end of the Coco Knits workshop. So the CAL. So you can put in your finished objects there, and because I messed up and there's a finished object thread, but I was really late posting it. There's not that many posts in there. So I will go into the, just to be fair to everybody, I will go back into the main thread. And if there is any finished ones there, pictures of finished ones, then I will, when we do the draw for the prize, I'll take those into account as well. There are quite a few people that started in the thread, and then I didn't see any more progress. So for those people, hopefully you're still with us and knitting. I won't be able to count if there's not a finished picture there. So if you have finished and didn't post a picture in either of the two threads, then do that, because we'll be drawing on the 31st of March for the beautiful Coco Knits blocking kit, which great.
We have one of in stock, you said.
Yeah.
And we figured out a way how to make it able to work online. So I'll post or list the other one online. So if you wanted to buy the blocking kit, we've now figured out a way to cover the shipping.
Yeah.
So there'll be one of those for sale, because a couple people had inquired about buying them. So you can go in and pick that up now if you want one.
Right. Okay, so that's the update on that. So get your sweaters finished, and there's some really great, nice ones there. The knitting is really nice, so that's great. So we're also doing our tutorials. So swatching part 2 is the next tutorial. And there's been good suggestions on the Ravelry thread for tutorial suggestions. So there's good ones, and swatching is one of the things. So the next tutorial that we'll show you right now is really about what happens once you have your swatch done. So you've knit, and now we're going to measure, and then what happens when you don't have the gauge that you want.
And you've soaked and blocked it at this point.
Yes.
Okay.
Of course, they're always soaked and blocked.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and somebody was asking a question about cotton, and does behave very differently than wool. So I'll just make a mention of that after the tutorial, like in another episode, because we just started carrying cotton yarn, so we'll be able to talk a little bit more.
That'll be important.
More in depth.
Yeah.
So don't worry if you don't hear about cotton yarns and what you're about to see. We'll talk about them again later.
Okay. So tutorial swatching part 2.
Yes.
Over we go.
Okay, so here we are. I have a swatch. So this is swatching part 2. So I've just laid out a swatch here, and you'll notice that I've got 2 darning needles or tapestry needles in the fabric. So really high tech measuring device. And I used my trusty ruler to measure out where 4 inches was. So most swatches are gauge indicators. Use 4 inches or 10 centimeters of fabric to count your stitches. And in this case, this is no different. So I'm counting the stitches between 4 inches of fabric. So I measured out where the 4 inches are. So if you look here, this is pointing towards me, unfortunately, so it's upside down for you. But I'm counting the V's as I go along here. So I know that this row of stitches right here is the first V in the 4 inches. So I'm going to count. I'm using another tapestry needle just to keep track, because your eyes start to play tricks on you. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 stitches for 4 inches. So now I just want to mark down what I found. So 16 stitches equals 4 inches. So I'm keeping this piece of paper, and we'll see what the next thing is. For most patterns, the row gauge is not as important as the stitch gauge most of the time, because most patterns basically say knit until you reach a certain length. But we will do the row gauge on this as well, just so you can see how that's done. Okay, so now I've done the same thing. I've measured out 4 inches, and I've placed my tapestry needles in a 4-inch spread, and I'm going to count the number of rows that I'm getting for 4 inches. And luckily this fabric is a little bit variegated, so I do know when I had my ruler over the top that this little darker stitch here is actually right on 4 inches. So I'm going to count. Same thing using my tapestry needle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So 28 rows to 4 inches. Okay, so now I know that the width gauge is 16 stitches to 4 inches, and the length, or the vertical gauge, will be 28 rows to 4 inches. So in this particular garment, that's the row gauge that I have in the stitch gauge. So now what's quite helpful is to figure out how many stitches you have per inch. And we're going to talk about why that's important. And the next segment will show you why. So if I just do my math, I have 16 stitches to 4 inches. So lovely, this fabric just happened to work out to be divisible by 4. So that gives me 4 stitches per inch. Okay, so we have 16 stitches equals 4 inches for the gauge in the width. And 16 divided by 4 equals 4. So 4 stitches equals 1 inch. So every 4 stitches that we knit in with this needle size and this yarn is going to give us 1 inch of fabric. Now when we look at the row gauge, we had 28 rows in 4 inches. So 28 divided by 4 equals 7. So we know we have 7 rows equals 1 inch. So 28 rows divided by 4 inches equals 7 rows in 1 inch. So we know every time we knit 7 rows, we're going to build 1 inch of fabric in length. So those are the 2 parameters and the things that you get out of your gauge swatch for gauge. And as we talked about in the last episode, that you also can get the quality of your fabric and so forth. And just to emphasize, this is a washed and blocked swatch. And the question came up in the Ravelry thread whether you pin your swatch to match a measurement. And my answer to that would be no, that you should pin your swatch to however big the fabric naturally goes to. So if you stretch out the fabric and then pin it to try to fit a measurement, if you're stretching it too much, your fabric will over time have a tendency to go back, because of the elasticity of most of the yarns that we're using, to go back to its natural state. So you don't want to kind of over manipulate the fabric just to get some kind of a measurement. You should pin it out so it's flat and let it dry completely, and then that's your gauge. The only thing that I'll make a note about is when you're blocking lace, you do want to stretch it out, but that's to open up all of the holes that you've made for your lace fabric to make sure that you can say, and lace will stay open because it's not the actual yarn itself that you're stretching, you're just stretching the fabric to open up the spaces in between the stitches. So those are the 2 types of fabric that you're making mostly. So I think that's it for this part. And then the next episode, I'm going to tell you what you can do with this information if you get a gauge that doesn't match the pattern and the yarn that you want to knit with.
Okay, good. So everybody's going to be swatching experts.
Yes.
Very important.
Right.
If you want to have fun and have things turn out, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just heartbreak and tears.
I was going to say, if you don't want to have to rip out, but we rip out anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. You're closer.
You're closer.
Less ripping.
At least you know what you're headed
how to
towards.
fix it. Yeah,
how to fix it. So, all right. So now the shop update, and we've got quite a lot.
There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
So the Night with Stars sold out very quickly, and then we were like, don't worry about it, we're going to make plenty, but guess what? There's a silk noil supply problem. They actually canceled our order that we had placed and told us they weren't coming.
Right.
So we will make more Night with Stars when silk noils are available again.
Yeah.
That was very unfortunate.
It sounded more like a kind of an inventory something, and she didn't want me waiting. She wrote to me, the owner of the shop, the place that sells them, and she's going to let us know when they get their stuff straightened out. So as soon as we can get them, we'll do it.
So, we didn't lie. There were more on the way, and then there weren't.
Yeah.
So from last time, Garfield Grizzly was up at the same time, and I know people were really hot to trot on this Night with Stars, and the Garfield Grizzly got a little overlooked.
Yeah.
So all of these are still available. Mm-hmm. So if you recall, there's a heathered or a vintage and a more clear and smooth version of both colors. Mm-hmm. And I love some of the name suggestions. Like You Can't Beat It for this one, and if we do this color again, we'll call it that, but I had already gone down the path of just calling it Spring Garden because it does remind you of beets and radishes. Yeah. So in Spring Garden we have vintage here, this one, and then we have the smooth here. You can tell it's just a more clear color. Yeah. Basically the alpaca that went into this one was just more white. Mm-hmm. So those 2 are still available. And then the same deal for the Linden Blossom. We have the vintage over here and then the clear, smooth version. And I wasn't able to get a picture up of the smooth one before we launched the last video. And then sort of we got into this whole kettle of fish. Things got a little wacky around here. But I will have a picture up of it now. So if I know it's hard to buy without a photo, but there was a lot going on when we talked about this last time. So these are up again.
So I just want to, this is really amazing because this is exactly the same dye.
Yeah.
The dye job.
Yeah.
Is the same.
Yeah.
And just the base is a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And then we have A Night Without Stars over the heathered.
Right.
We have some of those available too. So that all kind of got a little bit overlooked by the bee brooches and the what have you.
We should talk about the bee brooches as well.
Yeah. So the bee brooch people, they were on the way.
Yeah, they are on the way.
They are on the way.
I don't know where they are. I think they're at the border.
Yeah, I mean, I think the worldwide postal system is probably not a smooth oiled machine right at the moment.
Yeah, they left New York on
ages ago.
The 5th of March, I
think. So then we actually did do a special spin this week. So you talk about this because you created it. It's 100% natural wool.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of a charcoal color naturally, which is pretty unique.
Yes.
Usually it comes out much more chocolate when you have an undyed natural wool fleece.
Well, your sweater is like a real charcoal. So if you look at it, it has a little bit of a brown tinge to it. But
it's very similar to our slate color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the color is, it's a natural, they're black sheep, but black sheep are actually dark chocolate brown. And, I'm not sure, the genetics are the same because our flock is all a bunch of crosses and so forth, but the black yarn, the black wool does have kind of a different feel to it. It's quite rustic, but you're able to spin it quite fine. This is 200 yards for 100 grams, which is just a little bit heavier than our worsted weight, but the actual size of it's a 3-ply, and the size of the yarn itself is actually quite thin for that weight. Yeah, it's pretty fine. So this one, when we were talking about the Grizzly and we said don't bother trying to make socks with it because it's loosely spun and all of that, this would actually make really good socks.
Work socks.
Yeah, good work socks. And there's a little project that I want to try. I don't know if I'll get to it or not, but you can knit bags, like handbags, and then felt them. This would be a good yarn for that because it would be quite sturdy. So it has I don't know how to describe it. It's got a smooth feel to it, but yet it has like a rustic. It feels like a rustic.
It's woolly. Wool. This is your great grandmother's yarn.
Yeah, but would be great for socks.
Yeah, because it's quite tightly spun. It looks like.
I spun it tighter.
Yeah, so this is probably about as good of a sock yarn as you can get in 100% wool, sturdiness wise, without adding mohair or something to add strength.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if there's anyone in your world who needs a really good sturdy pair of old-fashioned boot socks, this is the way to go. And we're calling it GLASHVIN Granite. Granite for the color, and GLASHVIN is a road that's fairly close to here. Some friends of ours live on it. And it's actually a lovely spot.
Yes.
So we
like that name too.
Yeah, GLASHVIN. It sounds very Irish.
Scottish.
Yeah. Something. We're a little bit of both. Don't ask me to distinguish between the two.
Multicultural.
Are there Irish names around here?
Yes, Iona.
Right. Okay.
Oh no, Belfast.
Definitely.
Iona.
Belfast
Scottish.
is definitely Irish. Okay.
So the Irish, it's a bit ironic that the Irish settlement is in Iona for when the people landed.
Okay.
So the Irish families were in Iona, which is a Scottish place, and the Scottish settlers were in Belfast,
which is
it's completely messed up.
But our own ancestors, the Dohertys, came from the Isle of Skye
via
Scotland.
Ireland.
But they were originally from Ireland.
That's
so
right.
we see
from around Donegal.
Because certainly Doherty is an Irish name.
Yes, but they were
the most Skye. Irish, is about as Irish as you can get besides O'Reilly.
Yes. It's really funny because when we were in Ireland, we went to Donegal, which is where the seat of the Doherty clan was, Doherty or whatever. And it was so weird because Doherty is not that common of a name in Canada, but it was all over the place. There was Doherty's Pharmacy, Doherty's Pub, Doherty's this, Doherty's that, and I was like,
we don't own anything here.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was crazy. So
anyway, GLASHVIN Granite. This is definitely a one of a kind, so it's not a name that we'll have to use again or anything. But it is a really, I don't know, there's something that I just really like about it.
I know.
It's not itchy. It's just very
toothy.
Yeah, it's just very sturdy.
Yeah.
I don't know. This sheep was a tough customer.
There was three of them. And it had the fleeces, it had white, well, no, it was like a steel gray. It must be one of Lincoln's babies, because we have a ram that was pure black, and then the day he was shorn for the first time, our shearer, Amber, she said, I've never seen this before. He was silver underneath. So until the first fleece came off, we thought he was like pure black, but he was silver. So this is it's kind of, must be from him.
It's really cool though.
Yeah.
It'll definitely do the trick on a nice pair of socks.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing is the HAZE book that we talked about last in 34B. Sold out, but there's more on the way.
Right. We have one left or none left?
I think we have none now that we accidentally ruined one.
Yeah, okay.
We had one, now we don't. That'll be ours.
That's the shop copy.
Yeah. So they sold out right away. So we're getting more. And the good news is we had such a good response to it that we've decided to order more of the yarns for more of the projects in the book.
Right.
So we will be getting a different type of Rowan cotton. To go, and so that you can do even more of the projects and order them through us here. So that'll arrive fairly quickly, I would imagine, even though I'm not sure what the state of our national postal system is at the moment.
The order's already, we got confirmation that the order's already been placed. So then we'll hope for the best.
Be here by next week, and hopefully we can talk about those projects again, because I personally actually think I could get behind knitting or crocheting a couple of those. I think I might have to learn to crochet for this book.
Yes, there's really good, so for crochet people, it's really important, and what we're going to talk about next as well, or next is, fits in with this, is that there's quite a lot of crochet. Some of the patterns that are in the HAZE book, the most beautiful ones are crochet, actually. Yeah.
Well, I know, that's why I'm contemplating taking it up now.
Yeah.
Not this week. Possibly not next week.
Oh,
and then if that opens up a whole other world of bikinis, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Because there are some knitted bikinis, but the crocheters really shine in the bikini milieu, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go back on Ravelry and I might pick a crocheted bikini. So, and to have a cotton is really exciting.
Yes.
So
the main one that we bought, we have most of the colors that they make, is the Summerlight DK. And I was really pleased to see, because I went on Ravelry to see the different projects that have been knit with it. And I was really pleased to see that people are knitted knockers with it too.
Yeah. The linen color.
Yes. Linen color. But there's other colors that you could use. And I feel like I should knit a set.
We finally have a yarn that's knocker worthy. That's what you were excited about.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, it's in demand for that project for sure. Yeah.
But I like the look of them.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know why.
I don't know if I've spent that much time looking at them. I certainly love the concept.
Yeah. Well, they don't look like, you would never know what they were unless you know what they were.
They look comfy.
Yeah, but I just find it, the way that the decreases and stuff go, it has like a satisfying design. So good job on
Maybe
the
we should knit some. Okay.
Yeah.
That's something we have not done. Okay, so this behemoth here came in. And this is a huge, heavy book.
Yeah.
So what do you want to do with this? I'll maybe do a little slideshow. Like
I love the slideshow that you did.
Okay. Well, anyway, there's obviously all kinds of beautiful.
Look at that jacket. That's crochet too.
Yeah, there's a lot of crochet in this. The crocheters that watch us, which I don't know how many, they're cheering right now because they've been begging us to talk about crochet. Yeah. There's tons of crochet in here. I don't know. Do we have the yarn for these ones?
Some of them.
Some of them. Okay. Yeah. So this is a beautiful book. We're going to do at least one kit I know of when the rest of our yarn order comes in. This is stunning. This one here that's on the cover.
Yeah.
And here. So this is Rowan 67.
Yeah.
And we have a few copies of this. This is the shawl that I want to do a kit for, but we're just waiting for a couple of the colors to come in. Yeah. So this is another new thing. So we'll be getting these ROWAN magazines seasonally as they come out. And I'm sure most of you have had your hands on one at one time or another. They're beautiful. So something else really interesting that we have in the shop is actually the very first ROWAN Magazine. So if you ever come visit us, you can ask to have a peek at it. But this is something we came across in our travels, and we decided to pick up, and it's super interesting to look through.
The saying comes to mind, you've come a long way, baby.
Well, but look at this sweater coat this gentleman is wearing.
Yeah.
It
was big.
Pretty spectacular.
And it was,
the knitting in that. Look at it.
Yeah. It was in the 80s, right? Like 1986?
So. Even, let's see. Of course, Kate Fassett is featured heavily.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can tell. 1986.
Yeah, 1986.
Yeah, so...
Which just seems like it was yesterday. But
I'm beginning to wish it was 1986. Yeah. But yeah, look at these classic sort of...
Those lovebirds.
Yeah, okay.
No social distancing there.
Anyway, so we have a few of these old ROWAN magazines, and they're really fun to look through. And if you find stitch patterns you like, of course you could adapt them and put them on the back of any sweater that you wanted to make and not do the humongous drop sleeves and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But who knew what they were starting back then? Mm-hmm. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, so that's a vintage, the very first ROWAN, and now the most recent one. Yeah. We only have 65 more to get.
Well, we have a few more
for our collection to be complete.
Yeah.
So that's just a fun thing.
Mm-hmm. So we're really pleased with the patterns, and there's there's quite a lot of free patterns with ROWAN as well. Yes.
Yeah, so we found a few, like they just sent out a list of the patterns that were free, because a lot of people are sort of looking for free patterns if they have been laid off and things like that. And just to acknowledge that ROWAN can afford to do that because they actually sell yarn for a living outside of the books. Right. But that is not an indication by us that we think independent pattern designers should give their patterns away for free. No. That's their full-time job. ROWAN is a huge company that can afford to give a pattern away for free now and then if they want to. Yeah. But we do agree with supporting independent pattern designers by paying fair price for their patterns.
It makes me happy to buy them. Actually.
Yeah, you have to, I've designed a hat and a scarf, and I can tell you, if you've never done it, the amount of work that goes into those things is cuckoo. And then when you think about something like what Jennifer Beal is doing, just knitting the sample and swatching it alone is hours and hours and hours of work. And we don't work for free here in Canada, thankfully. So just I don't want anyone to be confused that we think patterns should be free, but we do think ROWAN is probably in a position to make that happen for the people who are interested in it. So we're going to link to a couple free ones that they sent us a list that go with Kid Silk HAZE. And you can have a look through those. They'll be in the show notes below.
It's funny because when I first started back at knitting seriously, I would go on Ravelry and I would always just click free, and those are the only ones that I would look at. But then as I knew more about the industry and you got to know some of the pattern designers and really realize how difficult it is to even make a simple pattern and to have it right and everything, I never click free anymore. No, I just look at what I want.
And in a lot of cases you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Because the instructions are not going to be as detailed. Like, nobody can do what Jennifer Beal does for free. Yeah. Unless you're independently wealthy. Yeah. And don't care if you make any money or not. Yeah. So that's that. So we actually have quite an exciting announcement today.
Yes, speaking of pattern designers. Talk about are you going to talk about the other books?
Oh, the other books. Okay. Yeah. Oh, well, now you'll just have to sit still. I just tricked you. If you fast forwarded to this part, psych. Okay. All right, so we got a few books in. As promised, we finally got Carson Demers Knitting Comfortably. So we got a couple copies of this. Selfishly, I'd love to take one right off the shelf and keep it for myself, but we'll let you folks have a go at it first.
I've been practicing some of his recommendations, and you remember when I was really having the hard time with my wrist? Don't have a problem anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant book. It's been very well reviewed by people way more experienced and intelligent than us. So if you have any kind of problems knitting as much as you would like to because of ergonomic issues, then I think this is definitely worth picking up. It is a little bit of an investment. Books these days, my goodness.
Yeah, it's a hardcover.
Yeah, it's a hardcover, but just loads of good information in there.
And if it keeps you knitting, because I really was at a point where I couldn't knit.
Yeah,
which was
nobody
terrible.
wants that.
No.
And then we got Bristol Ivy, the first knitting outside the box, because we actually never had it. And how much do we love Bristol? We love Bristol. I think her patterns are pretty brilliant and always very well written. I find the instructions quite good. And what else do we have to say?
This is also hardcover.
It's hardcover, yeah. And knitting outside the box too, we still have Drape and Fold. We still have that one too.
Yeah. So we have both.
And
then
we've been chatting with Bristol lately.
Yes.
Have we? Yes, we have.
Guess who's coming to the Fiber Festival?
Yes. So Bristol will be teaching classes at the PEI Fiber Festival.
Yep.
And super, super excited.
Yeah.
And
she'll also do book signing.
Yeah.
She'll be in the special, I'm still calling it the special
guest lounge.
Yeah, the special guest lounge. And she's going to teach some classes.
Yeah.
Which we'll announce. You can subscribe to the Fiber Festival newsletter and you'll get the first wave of the announcement, so you can hop over there to the
and obviously lots of festivals and events have been canceled in recent days, but we're still fully confident that by the last week of September ours will be going ahead, and we feel very blessed that that's the date we chose,
right.
And obviously if it's possible for it to go ahead, these instructors will be, they've lost a lot of work through this whole thing. I mean, everybody has pretty well. So I mean, I'm gonna fangirl a little bit over this one.
Yeah.
Super, super excited.
Yeah.
I think she's kind of amazing.
Yeah. It'll be great.
I'm a little bit of a fan.
Yeah.
Okay. It's gonna be rough for me when I meet her. I'm gonna probably make a fool of myself like I am now. So that's fine. Yeah. I'm used to it. Right. So a chance to have classes with Bristol Ivy in the Maritimes, pretty big deal, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I think she said that she's been to PE. Last time she's been here before, but she was 10.
Right.
So she's never before appeared.
Right.
In Prince Edward Island.
Definitely not. Not as a knitting instructor.
Yeah. So we're really excited to have her.
Okay. Yeah.
So yes. So from that, that we're still full steam ahead with the Fiber Festival. So September 25th, 26th, and 27th. Bristol will be there.
Yes.
So now we've announced Fruity Knitting.
Right.
Andrea and Andrew.
Yep.
Will be coming. And Bristol Ivy will be coming.
Cheryl the Pearl.
Yeah.
I can
Shirley Scott.
I just call her Cheryl the Pearl now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for the saltwater mittens.
Yeah, and there's more.
Yes.
Don't think that's everything.
No.
We're
doling it out.
There's more to go.
Yeah.
It's such a shame that everything's been overshadowed by the thing.
Yeah.
Because we're really having fun dreaming about all of this happening, but it's kind of hard to get into that spirit at times at the moment. And then one thing I forgot that I see on the list here is that our prices are all in Canadian dollars.
Right.
Yeah. So our dollar, as it stands, not super hot right now.
No. The plank, the curve worked on...
and the curve worked on the dollar.
Worked on our dollar.
On exchange. So to all of our lovely U.S. Customers, you're sort of paying a fraction of the price at this point.
Yeah.
It's gone down a lot. So if you're not following the exchange rate, you may want to have a look-see.
Yeah.
Pick up some yarn sweater quantities while you have the chance.
Yeah.
And that's mostly related to an oil and gas thing, though.
Yeah, because our dollar is so heavily based in the oil and gas, which is not great for the folks that are in that industry, for sure.
And this is all happening at once, of course.
Yeah.
Let's also have oil and gas to go down.
Yes. Let's have a price war on supply chain or whatever on oil and gas. And it is quite serious in that industry. And whenever gas prices go down, there's always a little bit of a kind of, everybody's like, oh yay, gas price. I'm not hearing that at all this time, because everybody understands exactly what the impact is of all of this happening at once. It's pretty devastating for people. So,
but it is good news for U.S. yarn buyers.
Yes,
on our site.
Yes, it is.
So let her rip.
Yeah.
I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised when you get your credit card bill.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and so speaking of that, so before we go, I just want to say that I am wearing a sweater that I've worn on here before, but this was from Green Gable Alpacas, and I believe Janet still carries these.
Yeah.
And of course, we're all struggling here to figure out what we're going to do under the assumption that there's going to be quite a chunk taken out of our tourist season this year. And so if you're not familiar with seasonal businesses on Prince Edward Island, some of them might earn 80 to 100% of their revenue during the tourist season. So if that gets cut in half or shortened by 6 weeks, they will really, really be struggling. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Janet, our friend and I guess kind of colleague in the yarn industry on Prince Edward Island. She was interviewed in an episode we did last summer. I'll put the number down here below. If you haven't watched that interview, it's a wonderful, wonderful interview. One of our absolute best that we've ever done, all about her alpaca fiber. And she sells these sweaters. And I absolutely love it. It's the coziest thing ever.
And we spin her yarn for her.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just a shout out to Janet. And of course, Janet, we love you and we're thinking of you. Yeah. And how can you support small yarn businesses? I know there's been things going around on the web, but for us, it's sharing our podcast if you think you know other people who might be interested in watching it, joining our mailing list, supporting the people that we have interviewed in past episodes, of course, watching our episodes and commenting and liking and subscribing and getting the notification so that YouTube's algorithm will be kind to our little podcast. If we are going to miss a significant portion of our tourist season, we need to try to make that business up online, which means getting eyeballs on the screen and over to our website through this channel, which is our main marketing channel as far as long distance marketing goes. And now is not the time to start buying print advertising or anything. So that's our plan. So we're just asking for everybody's support in getting the word out about our podcast. And so we're hoping we can grow our subscriber base a little bit so that those people who do still have jobs will find out about us and hopefully buy some yarn so that we can be here next year sitting in this very spot talking to all of you again. And that's sort of the reality of it, unfortunately. And you can join our Ravelry group.
Yes. Yeah. We have a pretty active Ravelry.
Yeah. And please don't give us a thumbs down.
Well,
we always get a few. I think they're bots.
I think, or I think it's when the stuff that we promote runs out.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a little bitter and cynical.
Well, no, but if you have your notifications, then you might be less disappointed.
Right. Yeah. It's a race to get to the show notes.
Yeah. All right. And that happens because we do like to do special things that are, if we're not a commercial size mill, so sometimes it's small batches that we do, but we're happy to share them. But sometimes they do go pretty quick.
And it's not a case of like manufactured or false sense of scarcity. It's actually that scarce.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking for local cashmere from the Maritimes, that's all you get.
Yeah.
So it's not that we're trying to dole it out in a way to make, there seem to be scarcity when there isn't. And I mean, as we already discussed, our silk noil order got canceled. So that was really more scarce than we thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you just don't know, exotic fibers, when you're trying to do it locally and sustainably as possible, it's not a volume game. Let's say that.
No.
So I think that's it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. Probably a little bit of a different tone, but just we're still smiling.
Yeah.
We're still eating.
Yeah.
I've got 1 tub of peanut butter Haagen-Dazs left. I think last episode I had admitted to buying 5 of them.
That's
4 in a week.
Yeah. But there's not a shortage of it.
There is. I think I've talked about it so much. Now when I go to the store, there often isn't any.
Oh. All right. What there is a shortage of is flour, apparently.
I have some of that.
Yeah. People are baking.
They're baking. There was like a little dust up in the yeast aisle when I went. So I made some sticky buns last week. And I was like, got the second last one, and the woman beside me got the last one, and we were like, why is there a run on yeast?
Yeah.
Well, everybody's baking.
Yeah, comfort baking.
Yeah.
I think our mothers made a cherry pie every day for the last week.
Oh, that's my favorite.
I know, mine too. You make really good pie crust.
I was going to say, why doesn't she bring it here? But she's not allowed.
No. But you make really good pie crust.
Are you asking me to make a cherry pie?
I think you make really good pie crust.
Well, you should tell your husband to get some cherry pie filling, and I'll make a cherry pie.
Okay. She makes really good pastry.
Yeah, I'm known far and wide for my pastry.
Yes. In fact, we taught when we moved here, we said if the farming thing didn't work out, we could get a stand on the side of the road and sell pies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My pastry is like a light as air, crispy delivery method really for the filling. Yeah. You want to eat the whole pastry. It's not like anyone leaves their crust behind.
Right.
Yeah. If I can say, if I toot my own horn.
I've also won family little contests about apple pies and things like that, but my pastry is not as good as yours.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. We had a big, kind of gotten a little, would have been a long time ago. I was making a little contest with my aunt.
Oh.
About an apple pie.
She's a good baker too, though. She's a good cook.
Yeah, she's a very good cook. So she was very confident until her husband voted for mine.
That's our Aunt Jean, right? Yeah, she's a good cook.
Yeah,
We're really lucky. We never had not good meals growing up around our family.
Everybody in our family, men and women alike, are good cooks.
Yeah.
They all have their specialties.
This reminds me of something Rachel and I were talking about last night. So I know we were supposed to say goodbye 5 minutes ago. We never do. A lot of people are circulating memes and things about dystopian novels and what have you. And so we got on the topic of the Lord of the Flies and, what we would be doing if that was us. And it reminded me so much of in the 80s, there was a magazine called Sassy Magazine for teenagers. And I remember reading it and they had rewritten the plot of Lord of the Flies if there had been women there instead of young boys.
Oh, okay.
And they were all giving each other like sea kelp hair treatments, mud masks, and coconut pedicures. And I'm thinking, that's what ours would be like.
Yeah.
And yoga.
Yeah.
I don't even remember how that book ended. I know I've been forced to read it and then watch the movie, but they weren't nice.
I don't think I ever read it.
You went through school and didn't have to read Lord of the Flies?
No.
I just remember one of them had asthma.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, probably didn't turn out too well.
That probably did not end well.
I didn't read that. I don't know what happened because a lot of the common books that would be considered literature that you read in school, I didn't read them. So I don't know if I had some kind of new age English teacher that said I'm not doing any of that.
What did you read?
Some Margaret Atwood and Margaret Lawrence. Margaret Lawrence was a big deal.
Yeah,
was a big deal for some reason.
I had to read them all. What's with the dystopian obsession?
I don't know.
Fahrenheit 451, Brave New World, Lord of the Flies,
we did watch Animal Farm.
1984, I didn't have to read Animal Farm.
Yeah, I did. I read Animal Farm. And that's about the only one. And I don't really, it's a big joke at knit night because there's a group of people that really like those dystopian books.
Yes.
And they're talking about how great they are. And I love to read. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to, God, I really.
Kim and I are like, but now we're living it. So that's what's really great about it. Perhaps they should have been watching Outbreak and Contagion in those English classes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
anyway, I just can't get into it, and I tried a couple of them, and it's not that they weren't well written or I'm just not into that.
I think I was just turned off on the genre by being forced to read them all through junior high and high school.
Maybe. So
I mean, they're not uplifting, are they?
No,
no,
not at all.
Mad Max, is that another one? But that had Mel Gibson in it, so that would be
that's
good.
a movie.
Yeah, movie. Yeah. Was it?
Yeah, kind
of. Is Terminator considered dystopian?
Well, it's not the same thing.
Okay.
What they're reading is not the same thing.
Okay. But would
yes, they are. But this
because that scene in the first Terminator when Arnold Schwarzenegger comes down to Earth.
Yeah.
That I could get behind.
Really?
Oh. Well, have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
It's just me then.
Too muscle boundy.
He just drop it right there. He looked fine. I want to go watch that right now.
Oh.
Okay. I'll have to take my sweater off. I'm getting
it's
hot.
Something different. It's something different. It's like
that's more like anarchy.
I don't know why it's different. I guess it would be considered the same, but it's
more science fiction angle on it.
Well, more.
I only remember the opening scene.
Yeah. So one of the ones that I read was more like Walking Dead-ish.
Okay.
But different. And then I got tricked into one because it was called Wool.
Everyone's reading that one and they love it.
Yeah,
but you don't. Everyone loves it.
I read it. And it's like I said, it's not that it's not well written. I can understand why if you like that genre, that's. But I'm just.
And why is it called Wool? I'm so curious.
Well, I only read Wool, which is the first one of a series. But what I think, I'm not sure if there's a deeper meaning to wool, but they clean things with the wool.
Okay. Well, if you're into that genre and you haven't read Wool, apparently it's spectacular.
Yeah.
Somebody else just mentioned it to me the other day. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all loving it. So there you go. Book recommendation and everything.
Yeah. So.
And what are you watching on TV right now?
I just watched Hunters, which is...
What's that?
They're Nazi hunters.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
Yeah,
I watched This Is Us and that's it.
Yeah. So... Also not always up, although lifting, but very good.
This year it's been good.
Yeah, it's good.
The second season was
and
really
now
depressing.
I'm watching The Outsider.
Yeah, I'm watching that too.
Are you?
Yeah. Although, I can't follow anything right now and it gets pretty, that's not a knit along. The one. You gotta pay attention.
But it's Stephen King, right?
I know.
Yeah.
And I do love Stephen King.
I love Stephen King.
Yeah. We all love Stephen King in my family. Every last one of us.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
And some people don't like him.
Sure,
either,
surely not.
I think he was, he doesn't do very many interviews, but I love watching his interviews because they're always
He's
funny.
a different cat.
Yeah. he said, yeah, I know, I'm not literature. And Stephen King, poo, 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 it's not really literature. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Oh, he's done well.
Yeah,
I think he's okay. He's not worried about the economic downturn.
No.
Yeah, and he stayed there in Maine, which is lovely.
Yeah.
And we love Maine. We always love Maine.
Yeah.
And Bristol's coming from Maine.
That's right.
Yeah.
She moved there. And I just like he's got kind of that kind of quirky sense of irony. And
he's quirky.
Yeah.
Let's face it.
I love it.
There was something about The Shining recently. What was that? I can't remember.
Oh.
Yeah, somebody. That movie. It was on This Is Us.
Oh.
They did a whole episode that kind of dabbled like a couple things about The Shining and because the dad. This is where my mind's at. What's his name?
Oh my goodness.
We got a lot on our minds.
Well, we know what the wife's name is.
Rebecca and...
Oh!
This is real life. Like, we can't even remember. It's the only show I watch.
Yeah. Jack. Started with J.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Jack is watching The Shining, and the kids keep getting out of their beds and appearing in the hallway.
Oh.
Which, of course, would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was The Shining.
Yeah, and we have to say that Kenny Rogers died.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love Kenny with a deep and abiding love.
Yeah.
I remember, do you remember, Mom will love this, because remember we lived next to down the street from the Claires, Larry Claire and Terry Claire, and Shannon Claire was their daughter, and she loved Kenny Rogers, and that song, I think she had the record, Don't Fall in Love with a Dreamer.
Oh, really?
With him singing with Kim Carnes. I think I listened to it 150 times the day I heard that he died.
Oh, really? Yeah.
He was he only had his first hit at 37. Really? Yes.
Oh, okay.
He was a late bloomer. He's done well to still be here until last week.
Yeah, he's he was handsome, and he actually there was an interview with him when he talked about what happened to his face.
Oh,
because he had bad plastic surgery. If anybody saw him in the
was he able to fix it later?
No.
Okay. Well, that's too bad.
It wasn't fixable, but he basically said in the interview, I should have just left well enough alone.
Yeah.
Because he was very distinguished looking.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always had like a lot of respect. I mean, I was young back then.
Yeah.
Like 4.
Right.
Listening to that song.
And we had a ram, Kenny Rogers.
Yes.
With his 3 girls.
Yes.
Dolly.
Lucille. And Ruby.
Because that's just the way we are.
Yeah, so big Kenny Rogers fan.
And everybody used to laugh because the ram was called Kenny, and they thought it was something to do with Ken. It had nothing to do with Ken.
No,
it was Kenny Rogers. Yeah.
Yeah, Kenny Rogers, Wayne Newton, and Lincoln.
Yeah.
Those were our rams.
Yeah.
And James Bond.
Yeah.
Which we're not allowed to call him that.
Yeah, right.
TM.
Yeah.
Just James. Probably weren't allowed to call him Kenny Rogers either.
No.
TM.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So now we've got silly. Okay.
Yeah, now I feel like we're just warming up.
Oh, gosh. Save it for next week.
All right.
Okay, bye. Everyone.